Hello, hello, Spirit House here. I'm back um, reading The Secret of Light by Walter Russell. And I'm just going to recap the last chapter of what I wrote. Or, I'm sorry, no, I didn't write this, Walter Russell did. But the last paragraph of the third part of The Magnetic Electric Universe. I just wanted to recap to kind of jog your memory of it. So here's the last paragraph of my last reading. Curvature of light waves axes by concentration or expansion between planes of zero curvature is the cause of all pressures. All pattern, all of the attributes of matter, such as density, tenuity, melting point, brittleness, conductivity, and countless other effects, which are voided when curvature ceases in planes of rest in wave field boundaries, or in points of rest around which motion rotates spirally. Okay, and I'm going to show you the figures from this page here. Figure 43, light rays are radial when projected through spherical planes. Figure 44, no two vertical lines are parallel in this radial universe, a static equator. And 45, rain falling vertically forms cones. Okay, and in this next page, I'm going to show you the diagrams here because they're quite important. We're going to cover this soon, but the spiral in nature, just going to leave it on there for a second so you can pause it if you want to. The universal compass. And then figure 46, all direction is curved, all motion is spiral. Yeah. And that basically, I can't read some of it because it's too, wow, I have a picture of this on my, Instagram. So if you want to see this on my Instagram, it's somewhere on there. But this is too, the contrast is too heavy. So I can't read some of the darker print because it's bled together. Something about centrifugal, but I can't read it. Yeah, the smaller stuff. So unfortunately, I can't read that. But anyway, I have this on my Instagram and it's more clear on one of my posts on Instagram, which is under Heather Spencer Uncensored altogether. Heather Spencer Uncensored on Instagram. If you want to take a look there, I'm pretty sure I have this picture up there because my whole channel is devoted to either my jewelry or Walter Russell. So, or the University of Science and Philosophy. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to continue now reading. Oh, and I'm going to show you the next page too, because I'm sure we're going to cover this here. Figure 47, the the six outer mirrors of gravitation. And here, see that? Gyroscopic. Yeah. The six inner mirrors of radiation. And this is how light is reflected as well, so take note. Figure 49, wave spirals on their wave shaft. Okay, so take a good look at that, because that ties into all this stuff. All right, I'm going to start reading. Within the wave field, centripetal spirals wind light waves into spheres and then cease to be spirals. Centrifugal spirals unwind spheres into cubes and also cease to be spirals. Centripetal and centrifugal spirals are electric sext mates. The interchange borns all forms and likewise voids all forms. Figure 46. Centripetal spirals are electropositive. They wind light inward to incandescent spheres. They are of the father light, which refolds unfolding forms. They begin their half cycle at cube boundary planes of wave fields and end them at centers of spheres. Figure 47. Diagrams in 6 mirror planes which reflect gravitating light centripetally inward through the poles. Centrifugal spirals are electronegative. They unwind light of incandescent spheres into cold black light of space. They are of the mother light, which unfolds formlessness into form. They begin their half cycles at centers of rest in spheres and end them in the reprojection mirrors of wave field planes. Figure 48 diagrams the 6 mirror planes which project radiating light centrifugally outward from equators. Figure 49 diagrams the screen of space which stimulates motion because of the two-way projection of oppositely conditioned lights and outward and Figure 49 diagrams the screen of space which simulates motion because of the two-way projection of oppositely conditioned lights inward and outward through each other to create the illusion of motion, change, sequence, and time. See also figure 39. Spheres and spherical systems like carbon are born where centripetal and centrifugal spirals meet. Matter registers the potential of the position of its birth. For that reason, it floats in equipotential orbits appropriate to its position in its wave field, together with all units of its system. In the electric current, electronic systems are born where the familiar loops of force occur around a charged wire, figure 50. I'll show these in a minute. Figure 51, 52, and 53 diagram electric systems forming at AA. The spiral is an incompleted sphere, just as crystal forms are incompleted cubes. Spirals and crystals have individuality, which they lose by avoidance in the oneness of spheres and cubes. Individuality is given bodies for the purpose of manifesting separateness and multiplicity. Individuality, separateness, and multiplicity are then voided in oneness. Individuality in every creating thing is a moment-to-moment record of its unfoldment and refoldment. It is the fruit of cosmic desire for creative expression. It begins when the cycle begins, ends when it's ending, and repeats itself in each cycle until the entire cycle of any expressed idea is voided in its completion. Two-way sex-conditioned spirals are the consummate individuals of all creation. They condition all bodies with the condition of their bodies. They unfold all idea from stillness of mind-knowing into moving form of mind-imagining and refold it into the stillness of mind-knowing again. They are the electric workers which fulfill desire of mind by interweaving threads of light into pattern forms and recording those pattern forms in the still light which centers every spiral pair, as the axis of a cone centers the cone. The one centering axis of both spirals is the shaft upon which the dynamic universe rotates. All motion rotates and revolves upon still centering shafts, and all shafts are two-way extensions of points which lead to and through centers of spheres. The familiar wave line which records all effective motion controls those effects. One can record that wave line, but is not aware of the fact that it is the power extended by the Creator in the measure of desire for power. The wave line is a record of the amount of energy borrowed from its static equator to express any mechanical process, such as the vibration of a harp string, the pulsation of an engine, the cardiogram of one's heartbeat, or the pattern of an earthquake, as recorded by a seismograph. See figures 54, 55, 56, 57, and 58. Okay, so I'm going to show you these figures now. Okay, so here's figure 59, birth of electronic systems. Figure 51. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 50 before. 51, spiral mates. I think it's supposed to be spiral, not pyral. spiral mates, units of electric current. And then we have 52, atomic systems forming BB wave shaft. Figure 54. Okay. Figure 55, the shaft of Earth and Moon. Those are the poles in a like a dynamo vortex, and the equatorial movements. And then 57 is the measure of energy borrowed, and B, its repetition. And figure 58 is a credit, is an equal debit. So that's like, it's kind of like the infinity symbol. That's also the pattern that the sun moves around the earth throughout the year, through the equinoxes and the solstices. So yeah, that's kind of how the sun moves around the earth, if you want to look at it that way, which I do kind of. And 39 is various patterns of wave shafts recording borrowed energy. And 60 is directions of spiral motion never reverses. And that's also how the movement, it's concentric waves that move at a 0 point to the equator in all planets, and through the north and south poles, the polar. It's concentric rings of energy that go downward, upward, and 0 at the equator. I know that doesn't say that here, but that's kind of how I've come to understand it through reading a lot of the works here and otherwise, Anyway, so here's the figures for the next few pages. So, the shaft of a wave is a line drawn through every point upon the surface of a wave-disturbed ocean in a vertical section where water and sky meet. Around the still shaft of the wave, all motion of the wave spirals to interweave the patterns and forms of desire. All spiral forms must have intense individuality in order to express such amazing varieties of form and pattern. Figure 59. The inside-out, inside-in turnings of all creating forms is due to the gradual unfolding, refolding principle of nature. This process is controlled by spiral pairs, which are motivated by still centering shafts of magnetic light. Opposed pairs of spirals gradually expand centrifugally to planes meeting at static equators to complete the unfolding half of the cycle. They then contract as the opposite of what they were to complete the other half. During the entire journey, they continue without reversal of direction. A clockwise spiral is always a clockwise spiral during its entire centripetal journey to its apex and its centrifugal journey to its base. The opposed pair, which rotate upon the same shaft, are anti-clockwise, for both are projected through each other. The characteristic unfolding, refolding, inside out, outside in principle of nature causes the integration of matter at poles and disintegration at equators. Matter integrates by the contraction of one pair of spirals around the shafts, which wind it into spheres by the way of their poles, and disintegrates it by the expansion of the other pairs, which unwind it by way of equators. The pair of spirals which wind light waves into spheres continue that winding until holes are bored through spheres and rings are formed, aided by the centrifugal force exerted by the expansion of the opposing spirals. Rings are the death half of the cycles of spheres. Rings recondense around points in space and rewind as spheres. The majestic ring nebula in Lyra, figure 61, is an outstanding example of the disintegration process of nature. The ring exemplifies the death half of the cycle and the newly formed sun, at its center of light of the life half. A new body has been born out of the old one as it expanded into the heavens. The heavens abound with new bodies appearing from old ones which have disappeared into another form. The Owl Nebula demonstrates this principle by 2 rings and 2 stars reborn from them. Figure 62. The rings of Saturn will become moons, just as its outer rings have become its several other moons. Our own moon was born from a ring from Earth as it expands its bulk by absorbing its oceans and accelerates its rotation as all of the outer planes have done. Okay, so here's figure 61. Lyra Ring Nebula, Owl Nebula, and figure 63. As how moons are formed from Earth's. And that's, I believe that's the end. No, it's not. Okay, so Jupiter is even now developing belts which will be thrown off as rings to become moons. These moons will become comets and eventually plunge into the sun, as all things in the solar system likewise do. Figure 64 illustrates the unwinding process by means of which moons free themselves from the bindings of their mother shaft to again seek revolution around the shaft of their beginning in the sun. Here's a diagram, and the writing has bled together. Too small. I'm sorry for me to read really right now. But the unwinding of the cosmic clock. I also have this on my Instagram if you want to check it out. At Heather Spencer Uncensored. I think I have this one. I'm not positive, so don't quote me on that. But anyway, and here's the next page. And I do have this definitely on my Instagram. Nature's method of storing energy in mass, disintegration. And this also shows how planets disintegrate. They bulge at the equatorial line as they begin to disintegrate. They don't become as round as they were, and eventually they'll become a torus shape with a hole in the center. Once they disintegrate, they'll become like a donut shape, basically, as poles flatten, equators lengthen. Yeah. So yeah, that's what happens eventually. But disintegration of suns and planets by radiation is accompanied by flattening at their poles. Spheres come into being by prolating and going out by oblating. Ever-increasing speed of rotation around shafts is the cause of this phenomenon. Inner planets rotate very slowly upon their own shafts because they are so close to their mother shaft in the sun, but they revolve very swiftly in their orbits around the sun. Figure 65. Mercury, our own moon, and Phobos, the inner moon of Mars, are so close to their mother shaft that they are obliged to revolve swiftly with the same face always toward their primary. The outer planets have so far broken away from the influence of their mother shaft in the sun that their years have materially lengthened, their days conspicuously shortened, and their faces are constantly changing in the relation to the sun. Cyclones, waterspouts, and tornadoes develop on our Earth when spirals tighten around their shafts. For the more they thus contract, the greater their speed. When spirals are so wide at their bases that their angles to the Earth's surface are negligible, there is a calmness and peace, but when they contract to thin pencils, which furiously speed around centering shafts of magnetic stillness at 90 degrees to the Earth's surface, they then do inestimable damage. Figure 66. Okay, so I'm going to show you these next figures here. The tornado principle. Opposed electric force is far extended from magnetic stillness. Power increases as speed multiplies by contraction of orbit, and power increases in the direction of magnetic centers and decreases toward magnetic planes. And here we have the cosmic pendulum. Inhalation, exhalation, contraction, expansion, positive, negative, 0 point. All right. So I'm going to start in the next video with the universal octave. And I hope you all are having a wonderful evening or morning or afternoon. I love you all, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.